Time now for the news at 12. Let's look at the headlines. Floods cut off residents of MUMBWA'S KANDESHA area. Effects cost reflective electricity tariffs to attract more investors, government advised. Anti-Corruption Commission investigations officer tells court that former Home Affairs Minister Stephen KAMPYONGO was in possession of property way above his earnings. In international news, Morocco increases jail term of migrants by 6 months. Melbourne victory given suspended points deduction following pitch invasion. We have the details shortly.
Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chol. We're from Cho's Fitness Gym. We're a fully functional gym located along Twin Palm Road in Kablonga, right by Cheshire Homes Society of Zambia. So we have various classes that happen from Monday to Friday. We have aerobics, we have boot camp, we have step aerobics, we have spinning, we have kettlebell classes. They happen from 18 to 19 hours every day, and we are open from 06 until 20 hours. That's Monday to Friday. Then Saturdays 6 to 12, and then Sundays we are closed. And most public holidays we are open 6 to 12.
Residents of MUMBWA'S KANDESHA area have been cut off from accessing their farms, schools and health services from their only clinic following a heavy downpour experience in the last 24 hours. The District Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit Committee, led by the District Commissioner Namukolo Kayumbu, have toured the area to appreciate their challenge. And Sarah Chilimboi, a resident, has narrated to Camnet TV, stating that the community, including school-going children, are unable to make their way to the other side. She has, however, urged the government to provide an alternative solution to the residents in the area. More in the following report.
Non-rehabilitation of KANDESHA Dam, which was washed away by heavy rains in 2020 in Mumbo district of Central Province, has continued to threaten the lives of the local people in the area. Following a heavy downpour experienced in most parts of the country in the last 48 hours, KANDESHA community has been cut off from the major crossing points, avoiding them to access their farms and health services from the other side. Mumbo District Commissioner Namukolo Kayumbu, with her entourage from the District Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit Committee, visited the area to appreciate their challenge.
We found that farmers in that community, some farmers are unable to access their fields because there's no crossing point. The same applies to school kids. They are failing to go to school because they cannot cross. There's no crossing point. And we need a dam if we are to save the situation there. The same water from KANDESHA Dam runs down to Chibila Dam, where that is our dam where the Lukanga company gets water, drinking water for the entire district.
And Sarah Chilimboi, a KANDESHA resident, has called on government to come to their aid by providing an alternative solution before lives are lost.
Navuto ya damu yatu ipopitira bana kwenda ku school. Kulibe kopitira naise kwenda ku magadeni tilibe popitira. So kuno na bo ko kumwa manzi, tili kumwa manzi ya dot. Nakuja ku bridge kwenda ku school bana ba school. Kulibe kopitira. Die problem ya mene tili nayo ikulu kuno ya manzi. KANDESHA damu ya memuri kuona. Dia metri na problemu ikumi ya mabiriji. Asemba tikonzira kwa che bridge na kuja futi ku KANDESHA bana ba school wakaziona popiti.
Mrs. Kayumbu, who is also District Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit Committee Chairperson, has made an assurance to the affected people in the area.
Visual coordinator under DMMU. So far, we will do our level best to make sure that more damage is not done, and we have alerted the people living near the water bodies to move away, to pave way for water until the situation normalizes. We are on guard.
Majesty Camnet TV News, MUMBWA.
Opposition Citizens First Party President TARIFFS has predicted that the United Party for National Development will fail to lower the cost of commodities in the country amidst the 12-hour load shedding schedule as the cost of doing business has risen. Speaking to Camnet News, Mr. Kalaba therefore says the decision by the current administration to cut down on electricity exports to neighboring countries should reflect in reduced hours of load shedding. Meanwhile, an energy expert, Dr. Johnston Chikwanda, says investors in the energy sector are afraid of coming to invest in the country due to the non-cost reflective electricity tariffs. He has since urged the Ministry of Energy to consider increasing electricity tariffs for mines and industries over a period of 5 years to attract investors in the energy sector. Details in this report.
Before a nation can boast of having good roads and other key factors of development, the welfare of its citizens is always the best indicator to determine whether it is on the right track of development. The case for Zambia, according to the United Nations UN, however, shows that over 50% of its citizens still cannot afford 3 decent meals a day, as some go to bed hungry. Reducing the cost of living and alleviating poverty was one of the main promises made by the ruling United Party for National Development, UPND. The opposition Citizens First Party has, however, predicted that reducing the cost of living for Zambian citizens will be a major challenge for the current administration amidst the current 12 hours of load shedding, as the prices of commodities are likely to go high due to an increase in the cost of doing business. Citizens First Party President Harry Kalaba was speaking to Camnet News.
Because if they had reduced, when did they sign the MOU? If they had reduced, when did they make that decision? Because as late as last week, government was adamant that they were going to continue exporting power. Now, government doesn't care about us. This government is more concerned about foreigners than ourselves as local citizens. This government doesn't care about the local citizens because for them, for as long as outsiders are happy, they are also happy. That is the problem that we have. We have seen it in the mining sector, the way they have behaved. We have seen it in the energy sector. We have seen it in all sectors. They are prioritizing people who are coming from outside and not us, the citizens of this country.
Meanwhile, an energy expert, Dr. Johnston Chikwanda, says there is need to increase electricity tariffs for mines and industries over a period of 5 years to encourage mass investment in the energy sector.
One of the things investors look at is the availability of energy. So if we do not have adequate energy in the country, definitely that can affect the extent to which you can attract investors. So there is a direct correlation to how much investment you can attract and how much energy you have in the country. That is the reason we need to come out of doldrums like this and go into energy abundance. When you are in energy abundance, it is easier to attract a lot of investment, which will unlock further jobs that we want.
He notes that it is time for the country to take aggressive steps aimed at encouraging investors in the energy sector, failure to which the energy crisis will remain unsolved in Zambia. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Patriotic Front's presidential hopeful Mutotwe Kafwaya has charged that the continued stay at the community house by President Hakainde Hichilema will haunt him in the future. Mr. Kafwaya has alleged that President Hichilema is doing government transactions while staying at his personal house and his house will be searched when he hands over power to the next president. He says it is just fair that the head of state heeds calls to shift to state house. Mr. Kafwaya has challenged the government to tell the nation the cost implications of transporting President Hakainde Hichilema from the community house to state house. Mr. Kafwaya, who is also a Lunte member of parliament, thinks that the government is spending huge sums of money on having 2 sets of security systems, one at the community house and the other one at state house.
The president, as he is living in his personal house, he is doing government transactions there. So when he hands over to the next president, How sure is the next president going to be that all government documents which will have been at that house have been transferred out? Okay? The only way is to search. Now, that is bad. That will be bad. In the process of searching, people may find things that they are not supposed to find. So I think it's just fair that the president thinks about it and heeds to the common wisdom of staying in State House. Because if you do government transaction within State House as a president, when time to leave comes, you just leave State House. You walk out and people see you walking out, isn't it? And they will know that you have gone to a private location which did not host any government business. But also, secondly, what is the cost implication, okay, of having two sets of security systems, one at Community House and the other at State House? Because be sure, State House will never be without security. It will always be secured. So what is the cost implication of transporting the president on a daily basis for those few kilometers? What is the cost implication of all those policemen who line up to his home on a daily basis? What is the morality, of doing that?
The Lusaka Magistrate Court under the Fast Track Court has heard of how the Anti-Corruption Commission received a financial intelligence report, FIC, alleging that former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo and his wife Wanizia Chirwa had built a house in Eureka way above their earnings. Testifying in a case in which the couple is accused of corruptly acquiring property, ACC Acting Senior Investigations Officer Zangiwa Mlenga told Magistrate Officer Sylvia Munyinya that the duo was later arrested following an investigation and conducted and analyzed that the properties were more than their earnings. This is in a matter in which the duo is facing 11 counts of being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime involving about 30 million kwacha. Details in this report.
Since his arrest in 2022, former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo has continued appearing before the Lusaka Magistrate Court on corruption-related allegations. Mr. Kampyongo, who served under the Patriotic Front administration, is being tried under the Fast Track Court, Economic and Financial Crimes.
Basically, today again we continued with the state's case. They caught two witnesses. The first court, the gentleman from Ministry of Finance, who came to speak to the emolument that Mr. and Mrs. Kampyongo collected for the period of interest between 2012 and 2021. They also then brought in one of the investigating officers who, after she testified, the court thought it fit to adjourn the matter so that we can kind of cross-examine her on the next date of hearing. So we're returning to court on the 12th to continue our cross-examination of one of the investigators, after which the state will call the last witness and will submit an request to answer. We are expectant that the court is going to make a decision that fits the evidence. We have made our own assessment of the evidence. Of course, we can't be drawing conclusions right now. We can't preempt the process. We will come and submit at the appropriate time, but we have given the state an opportunity for them to bring the witnesses, and they'll be finishing, if we follow the events correctly, we should be finishing at least on the 12th. The state will finish it.
Earlier, the court heard of how the Anti-Corruption Commission received a financial intelligence report, FIC, alleging that Mr. Kampyongo and his wife Wanizia had built a house in Eureka way above their earnings. Acting Senior Investigations Officer at ACC, Zangiwa Mlenga, has testified that the information was lent by the Commission following a complaint it received on the 29th of February 2022, with details that a company which had contracts with the previous administration, the Patriotic Front, built flats for the accused in Lusaka's Foxdale area. In this case, the state has slapped Mr. Kampyongo, who is also Shuangando area Member of Parliament, and his wife, Wanizia Kampyongo, with 11 counts of possession of property, suspected to be proceeds of crime involving about 30 million kwacha, allegations which the duo denies. According to Mr. Mlenga, it was further alleged that Mr. Kampyongo's wife bought a house in Ibex Hill, Lusaka, costing way above her earnings, leading to him arresting the accused persons. Meanwhile, another state witness, Humphrey Sulupia, a public officer at Payroll Management and Establishment Control Department, Personal Administration Officer currently serving as Assistant Director Personnel, told the court that Mr. Kampyongo's gross payment was more than 6 million kwacha and a net payment of more than 3 million kwacha, while his wife, the gross payment is above 1 million kwacha and the net payment is above 1 million kwacha. The couple is accused of possessing various properties between the 1st of January 2012 and the 30th of September 2022. Among those, a property located in Eureka off Kafue Road valued at 11 million kwacha, a property in Ibex Hill valued at 1.6 million kwacha. The matter has been adjourned to the 12th and 13th of January 2023. Both accused persons are currently on police bond. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
In our international news, a Moroccan appeal court has increased the sentences of over 13 migrants by 6 months to 3 years over a deadly attempted crossing into the Spanish enclave of Melilla, their lawyer said on Monday. Now, around 2,000 people, many of them Sudanese, stormed the frontier on June 24 in a bid to reach Spanish territory across one of the European Union's two land borders with Africa. At least 23 people died. The court in Nador, a northeastern town near the border with Melilla, increased the sentences of the group of migrants by 6 months, taking them to 3 years in prison each, lawyer Mbarek Bourig revealed. Here's a roundup of international news.
Senegal on Monday announced a raft of measures to improve road safety after a bus crash killed dozens on Sunday. Following a meeting with transporters and drivers, Prime Minister Amadou Ba announced a ban on night bus trips. Buses carrying passengers will be prohibited from the country's highways between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. Other measures include a ban on the importation of second-hand tires and a strict enforcement of speed limits. Goods and passenger service vehicles are capped at 90 kilometers per hour. Authorities have said the bus at the center of the Sunday disaster suffered a burst tire before swerving and colliding with oncoming traffic. Buses, many of which travel at night from region to region, are one of the main means of transportation in Senegal and cause many accidents. Road accidents are common in Senegal, largely because of driver error, poor roads and decrepit vehicles, according to experts.
The Moroccan appeals court increased the sentences of 13 migrants to 3 years over a deadly attempted crossing into the Spanish enclave of Melilla. Their lawyers added on Monday that his clients were accused of charges including participation in a criminal gang of clandestine immigration. Around 2,000 people stormed the fence in June last year in a bid to reach Spanish territory. Over 20 died.
Nigeria's election could be cancelled or postponed if the current level of insecurity persists in the country, the Electoral Commission warned on Monday. Nigerians are due to choose a successor to President Muhammadu Buhari, a new National Assembly and state governors in late February, but a militant insurgency in the northeast, separatist tensions in the south, and a spate of kidnappings in central and north have election officials worried. At a meeting in Abuja, one of the Election Commission's top chiefs warned that failure to hold polling in one area due to insecurity could affect the tallying and announcement of election results, leading to a constitutional crisis. Nigeria's past elections have not gone without controversy. In 2019, Atiku Abubakar, the loser in the presidential contest, ran to court seeking to overturn the results after alleging fraud. His appeal was dismissed.
Time now for sports news. Melbourne Victory have been given a suspended 10-point deduction after crowd trouble during their A-League match with Melbourne City in December. Any incident of serious supporter misconduct until the end of the 2025-2026 season would trigger the deduction. The game was abandoned after a pitch invasion during the first half. Some fans ran onto the pitch while referee Alex King and City goalkeeper Tom Clover suffered facial cuts after being hit by a metal bucket. Victory have also been fined 450,000 Australian dollars. The club have also been banned from selling tickets for the area of the ground from which the fans invaded the pitch. In addition, Victory fans will not be able to attend away games for the rest of the season, which is the estimated cost of the club, a further 100,000 Australian dollars. They will initially ban from selling tickets for some games until 15th January, pending further investigations by Football Australia. That sporting item marks the end of the news at 12, but the headlines before we go. Floods cut off residents of MUMBWA'S KANDESHA area. Effect cost-reflective electricity tariffs to attract more investors, government advised. Anti-Corruption Commission Investigations Officer tells court that former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo was in possession of property way above his earnings. Morocco increases jail term of migrants by 6 months. And finally, Melbourne victory given suspended points deduction following pitch invasion. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Louisia Nalupumbwe.